last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Aslı.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Aslı.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running.
Sorry for what?
But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love him when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to see all of you guys today. I see Meganels, I see Town Chat Cafe and Cinderella. Good to see you guys and thank you for hitting the like button. And I saw Kiki 2025 True Crime and also Show Poodles. It's so nice to have you guys tonight. Thanks for being here. And it looks like we're back to our normal lettering on the names here. I don't know what the heck was going on. It was weird, right? I saw it in other chats too, kind of when I went into other chats. So tonight, I don't know, guys. Tonight's kind of a couple of updates on some of the cases. One case in particular that I've not covered is the Idaho 4 case. I have a picture of the 4 victims here. Ethan Chapin, who is 20, and then his girlfriend Xana Kernodle. She's the one that has the glasses on top of her head. And then Kaylee Gonzalez, she's 21. And then Madison Mogan, and she is 21 as well. So a group of kids were living together in a college house, and it's not uncommon. And they were brutally murdered one night by this guy, Brian Kohlberger, who today accepted a plea deal. And again, we haven't covered this story here, but I just wanted to kind of make an update because there's a couple of plea deals that were done today, and it just doesn't seem right. I hope that it's something where he avoided the DP, right? Perhaps to in exchange for maybe a life sentence or something like that. But 4 lives were taken, 2 20-year-olds and 2 were 21. So extremely sad case and brutal. I had no doubt. I know there was some speculation, but his DNA was all over that knife sheath. So breaking news, it's been reported that Brian Kohlberger has signed a plea deal with prosecutors, taking the death penalty off the table. This means there will be no trial. But they didn't state how long he would get. And of course, the Gonzalez family, the father of Kaylee Gonzalez has been very vocal, and he's wanted justice for his daughter. So he had made a statement, which I'll pull up so you guys can see it a little bit better, but it says the Gonzalez family has already spoken out, furious over this outcome. While this does spare the victims' families from having to sit through another horrific trial or hearing the details in court, I truly believe this is a decision that should have been made with the families involved. And I agree with that. It's just like them tearing the house down, because they did tear the house where this happened down. And it's almost as if they knew there wasn't going to be a trial. It's kind of bizarre foreshadowing, in my opinion. And then they said they'll be breaking it down this week. So, and I'm sorry. And this is from Annie Elise. I was like on the podcast. Oh, yes. So I pulled this from Annie Elise's page and I shared it. And then here is, sorry guys, I wanted to get the right source. And then this is what the Gonzalez family had to say on their page. It looks like it's the Facebook page. And so they say, it's true, we are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. So in this case, they, again, the state of Idaho has done a lot of kind of odd, bizarre behavior, especially for something like this, where, this man just comes into their home. I mean, it's completely odd, in my opinion. They feel like they've been failed, so they failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected. We appreciate all your love and support. So hashtag heartbroken, hashtag Kaylee Jade forever. So really sad. Beautiful, beautiful kids. All of them were well liked and respected and loved. And, it's just absolutely sad and heartbreaking. So hopefully it is a sentence where he'll never see the light of day again. And that might be, sorry, I had to move the mic to read. But hopefully that'll be something that at least he's going to rot in prison. I hope anyway. So last night we talked about Daniela Trejo Mendiola, and she is a 17-year-old girl who was mowed down in Liberty, North Carolina. It was a hit and run on August 20th, 2024 in Alamance County. She was struck by a vehicle driven by a 38-year-old Joshua Brown on Oak Grove Church Road. She was waiting for her friend in a driveway, and he mowed her over. And we spoke about this last night because court was today. And then I'll share this with you all here. So this is from Chronicles of Olivia. It says, just got out of court this morning with Daniela's family. The outcome was devastating. Joshua Brown was only sentenced to probation up to 29 months for the hit and run that left 17-year-old Daniela dying in a ditch. For 43 minutes, she laid in the ditch. Her family's cries echoed through the courtroom as they stood before the judge begging for justice. Joshua's attorney claimed he passed a breathalyzer and wasn't intoxicated, but they failed to mention that no blood test was ever taken. They also left out that the witness statement describing Joshua's eyes as bloodshot. So, I don't know why that wasn't admissible or why they threw that out, but they did. To me, it appears they knew they had already mishandled the investigation, and instead of instead of owning it, they ran with the narrative that there was no evidence and he was under the influence. So basically, they changed their story saying now that he was not under the influence. And so they were really thinking that he could have been given 5 years for this, but it turns out that they decided not to give him any time at all and only put him on probation. And I agree with Olivia here. This was not justice. This was the system protecting its own. And it's absolutely heartbreaking, because all her father wanted was justice for his daughter. He has a sign that says, "We don't get Daniela back, but you can give her justice." The judge could have given this person the 5 years that was agreed upon prior to this, to my knowledge. But instead, he decided to allow for it, in my opinion. And I can't really wrap my mind around why, because I was expecting maybe a heavier sentence or the 5 years. So yeah, Kiki, the names are back to normal again. I know. I noticed that. I was like, oh, that's good. That was weird, wasn't it? Hey, Adam Forever 21. Seclusion Works. Hey, Seclusion Works says, oh, I had Idaho 4. Let me step out. Goes out for root beer. Yeah, Seclusion Works. I did not cover this case because it was a very frustrating case. And I was very much covering Sebastian Rogers' case. So I didn't have as much time to dedicate to it. But I figured it's an update. And since we were talking about plea deals tonight and how shitty they can be, I decided to pull it in. It is really sad for the families, Kiki. The motive, I believe he was studying to be a serial unaliver. I think he is someone who wanted to emulate like a Bundy, right? He was said to have taken classes for law enforcement, or that he was pursuing a career in law enforcement. There was a lot of different things that were speculated on, and then I was kind of waiting for the trial so I could kind of get more information from people who are at least under oath. That doesn't mean they're going to tell the truth, but they're under oath. But that's not going to happen now because he took this plea deal, and whatever the judge decides, I suppose will go. Yeah, I agree, Cinderella. Just both of them are just, I just decided to pull it in because I saw it on Annie Elise's page while I was scrolling through, and I'm like, oh gosh, not this too. I was like, well, while we're on the subject, let's just. So it's it happens. It's unfortunate. I just really hope that at least getting this part of it over with will bring some peace. But I just I don't know. I agree. It's a serious miscarriage of justice. And I don't understand why the judge would do that. It feels like a slap in the face, Hey, Sasha. Well, we have a couple of rotten plea deals that we're talking about. Yeah, Sasha, I originally saw Daniela's story on Chronicles of Olivia, and she interviewed her brother and the family, I believe. And then I heard about it again when Bullhorn Betty put it out, right? And I was like, oh, I do remember this story. Because, basically he came tearing through there and ran her down in the vehicle. That's funny. Seclusion works. That's funny. No, you're good. I mean, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the Bryan Kohberger stuff unless you guys want to talk about it. I mean, I have a little bit of knowledge. I'm just, I know that they, were college kids all living in the same house, and they had their little rooms and kind of an open door, literally open door policy, going in and out and all hours of the night and morning and things like that. So it's just so unfortunate. This guy's real creepy, and I don't know. I get BTK vibes from Kohberger. I get Bundy vibes. So I'm kind of like, I don't like to really talk about him a lot. In my opinion, not rank makes it worse. It does make it worse because they're not going to give him any time. And I know that's probably not going to be the outcome in the case in Idaho. I watched an interview earlier today, and the two other roommates that came home, they were also kind of, they were their boyfriend and girlfriend, and they were at the time. And so whenever they arrived, they realized that something was terribly wrong in the house, and that, they needed to call the police and stuff. And they were being harassed and everything like that, but they seemed to be very nice kids. And I think they were just really caught up in this terrible situation there. And, they just said that they don't want their friends to be remembered as the Idaho Four. So I've been trying not to say it, but I know that's kind of what they're known to be. But I understand that. And I think they were so much more than that. I know Ethan was someone who grew tulips, and they grew like a special one for him. There's so many things that they can be remembered for, and I'm sure that this horrible situation that happened to them isn't one of them, so. Kohberger is in lockup, and Sebastian is still missing. That's so true, Sasha. I feel the same way. And like I said, I was scrolling through, and I'm like, well, let's do an update since we're already talking about rotten plea deals, because again, with Daniela, she didn't get not even a little bit of justice, and that's why I said, justice denied. My life means nothing in Alamance County, and I'm referring to this beautiful girl here, Daniela. No, I didn't hear about that Town Chat Cafe, about a sighting of Jonathan Ho. I'm gonna say it wrong. Ah, Kiki. Since being on YouTube for true crime now at the beach, I'm like watching people with eyes wide open, very every which way. I don't blame you. I really don't blame you at all. I'm always like that anyway. I'm always side eyeing people and wondering what they're doing and looking at their license plate numbers. He didn't get any time, Sasha. He got 0 time. He just got put on probation. I hope he violates it. Yeah, he's going to be on the street. He's going to be on the street to, get stoned to the bone, drive his car 100 miles an hour, high as a kite. It's all good. It's all good, Amen. Sasha says these demons keep stealing 100% our angels from God. It's intentional. Look at Emily. She was so sweet, a wonderful girl. Yeah, it seems like it's all of these really, really great people, right? All these great humans that we're losing, and the bad people live to fight another day, and for the evil forces that be, in my opinion, and welcome in everybody. Yeah, there's sketchy people everywhere for sure, Kiki. For sure. The YouTube streets have been super creepy lately. Not that they weren't. I'm not saying they aren't or they weren't. They weren't always. I'm just saying, like, lately it's been like off the chains. Hey, SI officer, good to see you. I do too, Sasha. Definite corruption, Kiki. Definite corruption. It's terrible to think that her life didn't matter to them. It's terrible to think that the judge made the decision that he did. It screams corruption. Well, and that's a great question. I agree. Why is law enforcement so sketchy? And I think in these cases, even in Sebastian Rogers' case, we see how if you know someone, you're going to be treated differently. And when they do that, they screw themselves over, and then they don't want to admit, like what Olivia was saying. I agree with what she's saying. I think that if you can get law enforcement, CPS, or any of those entities to admit when they're wrong, you're very lucky, because most of the time they know that is going to end up in a lawsuit. And so they are very hesitant to do that unless they have a conscience, which many of them don't, in my opinion. Seclusion Work says, "This is my honest opinion. There's an agreement among good versus evil. They get a certain number." Yeah, I think that there's always going to be that, those elements in life. Obviously, they have been from the beginning of time. So, not much we could do about it except for, bring our best foot forward to the table. And very, very disturbing. All of it's been very, very disturbing. And we were talking about it last night in the Sebastian Rogers case. Just looking back through everything, if we were to go back to the very beginning, we can kind of see a progression, especially when we piece together what was being said by either side of the aisle in terms of Chris and Katie Proudfoot and what their statements were, what Seth's statements were, and kind of how they evolved. It's definitely a lot to remember, but if we can go back and kind of look, we can realize a lot of things. And I think one of the things that I realize is that law enforcement dropped the ball, right? Really adamantly, we're working under the assumption that Sebastian walked off. Okay, but they never gave us a reason why. And if I'm filling in the blanks, I think it's because, they were told that by the parents and they didn't want anybody going after the parents, which is, not including Seth. I shouldn't say parents. I should say Sebastian's mother and stepfoot. It's just so corrupt, SI. Well, SI officer, that's a really good point. She says, or just the people afraid to do their job, but they want the authority. I mean, yeah, and it's like a definite abuse of power, that we're seeing. And again, it's unfortunate that we see it everywhere. I mean, we're in North Carolina when it comes to Daniela. We're in Tennessee when it comes to, Summer Wells and Sebastian Rogers. It happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. And it's something that, I think as a society, I think everybody just needs to do their part a little bit better. I don't know. That's my only suggestion. Oh, thanks, Kiki. Yeah, friendship ties, right. Nepotism, yeah. They let their guard down and did not follow protocol regardless. Yeah. And that's the biggest problem. And when they don't follow protocol, and the same thing goes for Daniela's case, it really muddies the investigation because you have a small window of time when everything's still fresh and you're going to get the best information and the best collect the best evidence available. But that doesn't happen when you have people who are traipsing through the crime scene and you're not cutting anybody off and you're letting anybody just go in there, willy-nilly, and it's okay, come on in, touch everything, put your footprints everywhere, put your scent everywhere in the house where it wasn't. And, that was most likely strategic, calling a bunch of people over. Because you guys know that Chris Proudfoot has said on several occasions and twice even in one particular live about how he studied other cases, right? And so he mentioned Summer Wells's case twice in one live. And so, of course, I made the thumbnail, did CP and KP go by Don and Candace's playbook? Or were they studying other true crime cases? And they very well could have been, right? They very well could have been. Maybe they were interested in true crime too. That's the only kooky theory I hold. Seclusion, that's funny. I mean, we all kind of can get kooky theories, especially when you go down the rabbit hole. That's when I get my kookiest ones, I guess, is when you go down that rabbit hole and you're like, oh gosh, what am I looking for? You let it lead you around, you know. Meg says it really does happen everywhere. I'm not sure if people have become desensitized or what. The bad shit happening seems just to be okay thing every day. Exactly. Yeah. And the way that people treat each other too. Like, people will be witnessing somebody getting like treated like dog shit, and then they're like, that's fine as long as it's not me. You know, like, I'll join in, I guess. Like, whoa. That's the time where you like back into the bushes slowly, like you know, Homer Simpson meme. That's when that should happen. Because I think that that's part of just doing your part, is not being a part of that crap, you know, because the more that you're a part of it, you're part of the problem. SI officer says, or selectively international, and agrees with Meg. Yeah, and I mean, as I was saying last night with Sebastian's case, there's a couple of things that have kind of come out recently that have really been bugging me about his case, right? So we have the footage, which I did not have enough to download Mr. and Mrs. E's live. I didn't realize it was a 4-hour live, but they did this really great live about green hoodie theories and the yellow jacket guy theories. So definitely go check it out, because they go and they film Texas Roadhouse and kind of the layout and different things. But one really interesting part of what they shared was that the area where the Texas Roadhouse is located is all fenced in, right? So it's like a big shopping area, but it's all fenced in. So it would really detour a lot of panhandling and people being able to just kind of get into that shopping area without having a vehicle. There's a really busy road by there, so I kind of wanted to pull that footage in, but I didn't have enough storage on my phone, and so I apologize about that. But either way, I just want to tell you, it's completely fenced in, and like I said, I would love for you guys to go over and check out Mr. and Mrs. E's Crime Cast, because they did a great job of, you know, showing that. And so I think that eliminates a couple of things when it comes to some of the characters that we saw at the Texas Roadhouse. So with Green Hoodie having to just go into the Texas Roadhouse to pee, it's very odd that she would come from that area with the bushes, because they also said that it was very difficult. It was very difficult to get past the bushes, right? They're pretty, you know, they're not spaced apart. They're all like a wall of bushes. And so, you know, kind of odd that people would go through them because it wasn't easy. You know, and then also just the characters that were at the Texas Roadhouse that night. We see these kind of odd behaviors. And then, of course, with the Green Hoodie, she stands and waits next to Katie's vehicle and makes her more suspicious. We also see what appears to be a handoff between Katie and this Green Hoodie person. And then we also have law enforcement's reaction to people speculating about the Green Hoodie person, right? And they come out and they make a formal statement, which we haven't got very many of those in Sebastian's case. Yeah, I agree with you there, Meg. Meg says the neighbor who put his home up for sale holds a large key to Sebastian. Oh, it's gonna be one of those nights. But yeah, I agree with that. I think that the neighbors do hold the most information, and that's why, you know, Bobby the neighbor, I was very interested in what she had to say. You know, I would love to hear from any of the neighbors who witnessed any of the footage, right? Whether it was their own footage, but we also know that that was a close-knit neighborhood that had a Facebook page that they shared, and it was a private neighborhood page. So I would bet my bottom dollar that people are probably sharing that information amongst themselves in the neighborhood. I lived in a very close-knit neighborhood for years growing up, and everybody knew everybody's shit, one way or another, or there was gossip brewing, whatever it was. But I think it's safe to say that the neighbors definitely hold the key, Meg. I agree. SA officer says, lady in chat, confirmed for me, CC refused to give over any footage or only let the PFUTs see it. Yeah, so it's my understanding, and you guys please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the footage was handed in and it was logged as to who gave footage, their address, their information, and then Katie and Chris were given access to that as well. And they were the ones that wanted to find out whose footage was what. And, I think everybody knows really my theories of some of them and how I feel. But I will say that I would want to see the footage, absolutely. So I can't blame them for trying to gather the footage, right? But just the fact that they didn't do anything with it, or they don't seem interested in the footage itself, more or less, like where it came from and whose house, whose house it came from, basically. In my opinion, and they dismissed the lights really quickly. So that was also bizarre. So yeah, that's my understanding. And then in terms of CC, he allegedly did not give any footage, and he is the house that's located behind him, the same one that SF came out with the still shot of the backyard, and then it was blurred, like their porch was blurred out, and we went over that when it was put out. But it's as far as I know, he didn't give any footage in, and then SF ends up with some of it. So that's what I know about it. Meg says, some people want to try to be meaner than the other person to fit in. It's like trying to top the top of hateful, nasty person. Boom. I mean, it's just like, it's really like, who can be the grossest, right? It's like, there's some sort of like weird initiation or something. And it's like, if I could be nastier than the last person, then, I'm more respected. And it's a very, nasty mentality, isn't it? Like, it's like I don't even know if you could call it like a troll mentality. I would call it more, because like a troll to me just comes in and like, they may stir shit up, they may say something off color or something, and you're like, okay, Hootie 42, get the fuck out of here, and then you block them. But like, these people are on a whole new level, especially some of the things I was like, wow, you guys are sick as fuck. Kiki says, shoot my husband. He has seen someone hitting their child and one offing. The guy got off the child. Oh my goodness, Kiki. International Stupid Phone Day, SA officer. I hear ya. Should have been more cameras also. Yeah, I would think, Kiki. I mean, it's a nice neighborhood. It's a more, established neighborhood. more mature neighborhood, I guess you would call it. And honestly, I was surprised that there wasn't more information or eyeballs, out there, because even though it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and it is, granted, it's a school night, it's whatever. I mean, there's people like me that are up late, and so I'm just going to take a wild guess that there's probably other people like me that are up late. So why wouldn't anybody ever, why wouldn't anybody hear anything or see anything? Is still kind of strange to me, especially if what we're seeing in the flashlight video is transpiring. Now, some people are trained to be more stealthy than others, right? And some people are trained to not be seen. Obviously, nighttime is good. A neighborhood that doesn't have street lights is a good environment for that as well. So they did have some things that were working with them. But again, everyone's, whoever's involved in this, they're also going to run into issues. I don't care if it's 1 or 2 or 3 or a million. Obviously, they haven't ran into very many, but there's a few things that are very questionable, right? Like Sebastian's shoes. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to beat a dead horse on it, but I will say that it's really bizarre to see his shoes. Granted, he did have a new pair of shoes, but they don't look any bigger or smaller than the other ones that he had on for his birthday party. Because Katie said he just had this growth spurt and he grew 2 sizes. I mean, so I kind of consider that, Hey, Holly S. I'm sorry you had a rough day, Seclusion. I didn't have a rough day today, but it was a long day, and it's been raining a lot here, so I get a little gloomy because I'm so used to it being sunny every day. So then I'm like, oh, this is weird. Yeah. Thanks, SI officer. Yeah, I just kind of call him CC. And he is friends with Katie on Facebook, according to what I saw. But they're neighbors. And then some have alleged that Katie was hanging out with his son. Oh, okay. Meg says, I'm not sure about that. I heard that he supposedly didn't have any footage. Yeah, I mean, I heard that he had a really good camera system. But I can't remember where I heard that. But that was my understanding, that he had a really good camera system, and it would have been pointing, toward the Proudfoot residence. Yeah, not a relation, SI officer, to my knowledge. They were friends on Facebook. And some people were alleging that there was some sort of relationship, if you will, there. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything. And again, I've said this before, guys. I don't care who's banging who. I just want to know what happened to Sebastian. So if Katie was banging the neighborhood, I don't really give a crap. And I'm not going to, slut shame her for it or, talk about it here, because it's really irrelevant what she was doing. Unless, one of these people helped with Sebastian's disappearance, then of course I would, be more, I would perk up a little bit, I'd want to know more. But otherwise, I'm like, I don't want to hear about them swinging. And, I'm just not a type of person that likes to hear about other people's sex experience or anything like that. I'm not interested. Kiki says, seems everything is private. Did you know there's also an app just for Sumner County residents to report crime and such? It's online, not allegedly. Kind of weird. Oh wow. Okay, yeah, that is kind of weird. It is a special app just for Sumner County residents. You know, these are the things that bother me the most and scream corruption right here. Because if there's only a certain line where only locals can report things, then that sends up a huge red flag for me, because that means they're intercepting leads. They're only sharing what they want to share, in my opinion, and I do not like that. I think it's weird. I think it's strange that you can't get information if you're not a Tennessee resident. It's weird. I don't see how they can have that. And I'm not familiar with why it is the way that it is, but it is the way it is. Aw, thanks, Meg. Says, big hugs to seclusion. Aw. All right, town chat. Come out of the bushes and say hello. I was pregnant 9 times before I was 17 in a small town. Oh my goodness. Oh, Cinderella. Do you have 9 kids, Cinderella? Meg, shake her out of the bushes. Shake her out, shake her out. SI officer says they dismiss everything that is questionable. Yeah, they do. And that is the weirdest thing, too. It's like they don't want to hear it. Like they already know it, but they don't want to talk about it. And that's also so strange. Some things I see and I hear make me embarrassed to be a human being. I had that exact feeling today earlier. I was like, what is this? Meg says, some things I see and hear make me embarrassed to be a human being. Well, I would be lying if I said that I didn't meet some of the best humans here on YouTube. But it also comes with the territory of meeting some of the worst, or encountering them, or having to, sit through their live stream or something like that. So I don't know. And I'm sure people feel that way about me. It's all good. Sasha Johnson says, did Dog take Texas Roadhouse video down? I wonder why. Okay, I did hear that. I haven't been over there to look to be honest, because I downloaded everything that they put out. So I have every single bit of what they put out. Anytime they slowed the video down and put that out, I have it. The different camera angles they used, I downloaded it all. But I do think that he may have taken that down. And, I found something on the website at night. Well, it was posted on, Facebook. And basically it talked about the $100,000 hit that was out on Dog and other members. There was a security breach. I remember them talking about that before. All of those things are important because these people are helping Sebastian, helping find him, helping Seth. But at the end of the day, it's just good to know that was the reason why, because I was thinking it was, but I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to just jump the gun. But other than that, it does seem that Dog is working behind the scenes and not being a spokesperson like he was, or speaking out publicly, from my understanding, so a scent dog jumps into the retaining pond and they didn't drain it. Why? Yeah, that's a great question, Sasha. I don't know why they did half the shit that they did in this case. And I don't know why they didn't do half the shit they should have. Hey, Meow. Sasha says, it was only 2 feet. Why drain it? I think to remove the scent, in my opinion. I don't know why they drained it. I guess to find out if maybe, because I know, this is just my theory, I guess, but because I was thinking about it a lot, and those retention ponds are like very much like in the bottom of them are like sludgy, like kind of quicksand, right? Like it's like just so muddy, and you know, I would think that when they drained it, they might have been just looking to see if he was stuck in the bottom or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question, though. It's a boys' club, including girls on roids, I guess. Oh, man. Well, I've heard that KP could take CP, but I don't know about that. Well, it's odd, isn't it, Sasha? It's almost like they take these positions not for justice, but to protect family and friends. Yeah, or to have the power, right? You know, honestly, some law enforcement officers were people that weren't treated very kindly in school, and then they're given that badge and they have the power back over people, and they've abused that. And, you know, and that's not all of them. Some people are people that are, you know, really great, and they wanted to join, you know, ROTC, and they did, you know, they did military service and all of that kind of thing, and that was always their passion, what they wanted to do. So we have all types that are in the office, unfortunately. Yeah, Sasha says, in that town, it seems like it's so far of a whole generation of rabbit hole that is to be discovered, in my opinion. Yeah, and so many people are so connected, right? They're interconnected, and you know, they go way back. And I think that's why we have so much corruption with the locals on YouTube, even. Sorry, guys, I had a little sleepy stuck. I think that's part of it. I really do, because especially looking back, knowing what we know now versus kind of how everything came to be up until this point, it's just how I feel. I feel like there are a lot of locals involved that maybe know more about this case because they live there, right? And the way that they're behaving is very bizarre. And I don't even know if there's really a word to use for it. You know, the threats, the weird harassment, the weird everything. There's nothing normal about it. It's absolutely abnormal. And then all of the people that go along with it. It's weird to me. It's crazy weird, right? Kiki, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. And I would never know who any of these people were if it wasn't for Sebastian's case, you know? Sasha says, you believe they let all those people in there? That's a gross abuse of power to allow this, knowing it's against protocol. Yeah, I think they did. I think they called all of those people in. I think that was Chris and Katie's plan, at least. You know, I don't think it was the law enforcement's. I don't think that they were malicious law enforcement in doing that, right? So my theory is that Chris and Katie invited people over to contaminate the crime scene, right? And when the police got there, they allowed for it because they knew all of those people, right? And so they were like, oh yeah, that's fine. But then not realizing that they ruined their crime scene by having all of those people in the house and touching things and, you know, just contaminating the scene. Good evening, Jules. Thanks for being here. SI officer says that would be the only reason why I would even bring that up, because why would you not share your video footage, but then with them you do it if it was the case allegedly? Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why they wouldn't share the footage if they had, especially if they had a good camera. And that's what I heard. And I was like, well, that's weird that they would withhold camera footage if they had some really good camera. equipment, you would think that they would be proud of it. I would. I'd be like, my camera's probably the best one in the neighborhood. Here you go. Like, I would be trying to help, right? We also heard allegedly, right? Because this is something that has not been verified by anyone. This is alleged that witnesses said that Cece was at the vigil that was held for the neighborhood vigil for Sebastian, and he left crying, saying, "This is bad. This is so, so bad." So there was that too on top of everything. I agree, Sasha. Abuse of power, hence creating an obstructive environment. Yes. Yeah, same SI officer. It's not my concern, and I most definitely don't want to hear about it, and I'm not interested. Now if it was a situation that while Chris was working in Memphis, this person was around Sebastian and he was staying there that night, then that would take some heat off of Katie now, wouldn't it? But that's the only thing that would make me want to worry about who's banging who. I mean, living in a small town, gossip. I had my first kid in 28 and a few years later. Oh, I got you, Cinderella. I was like, you have nine babies? My goodness. Yeah, well, and that's it too. When people hear something and they use zero critical thinking skills and they just go with whatever the creator they're listening to says, that's when things can really go downhill, because that creator can be lying. I mean, they could lie. We could all get up here and lie. Not one of us is above that. It's your choice though, about what information you put out there. I mean, obviously there's going to be information that's perceived, right? Because even when I'm looking at news clips and gathering information, I'm processing it myself, I'm perceiving it, and I'm giving it back out to you guys to form opinions on your own too, and for us to discuss. But again, it's going to be what I am trying to present to you. So, if you're dealing with a creator that doesn't care about telling the truth or what the facts are, then of course you're going to be blindly following a dumbass, which makes you a dumbass too. And I've been a dumbass following a dumbass, so I know how it feels. Just how I feel about it. SI officer says she was just saying about the gossip of a small town. Thanks, SI officer. Sorry, I misread that one. Yeah. Some of them are on Facebook, and then some of them are on Nick the Hat too. Nick the Hat's got them on his. They're still out there, guys. I mean, you can find them. We can find them out there, floating around, and people have talked about them, which is good. We need to analyze them. I mean, look how much work Hindsight and Mama Risa and BMW Coupe have done on the Texas Roadhouse, analyzing the videos. They have done such a wonderful job and have worked really, really hard and brought us a lot of the things that you can't really see unless you slow it down and you zoom in and you pay attention to the details and body language and what's going on. And that takes time. That takes time and effort. Oh, okay. Thanks, K9. Captain Joel says they drained the pond because K9 Max tracked there and jumped in. Thank you for clarifying that for us. There you have it, folks. Yeah. Good night, Seclusion. I hope you have a better night, honey. Yes. Thanks, SI officer, says seclusion. I hope you rest well and wake up to a better day tomorrow, whatever has happened, praying for you. I am too, seclusion works. I am too. Hey, Ann Reynolds, good to see you. He didn't dig the print, but Max's handler said they were prints by the pond. I will go back and listen. Yeah, I remember that being said too, Jules. Thanks for that. So there was apparently a footprint and a boot print, right? That was over by the pond. A footprint would be someone's foot, right? Versus if there was a shoe or a boot, right? It was said that neither one of the prints was Sebastian's, and that it was, it turned out to be nothing, and that was my understanding. Just weird. I mean, that there would be one boot or foot and or a print. It's strange. And then there was no indication that they were matching, right? Like that, as if somebody had one shoe off, one shoe on, or if they were hopping on one foot. I mean, yeah, just one footprint. Thanks, SI officer. Sasha says it's really bizarre that the naval brings a worker with a husband in naval operations had no security on their home. Oh yeah, totally. It's totally weird that they didn't have any security, especially her working for Brinks or wherever she worked. It's strange. And then Nina also said they had cameras too. It's been a really long day, hasn't it, Sasha? They said it was a boot print. They are not very stylish. I do agree, Sasha. Hey, little Miss Sharon. Good to see you. Oh, back from shopping. Did you get anything good? But did they take plaster casts off of the footprint? But they didn't. No. Oh no, of course not. I don't know why they wouldn't take the plaster cast of that, but they didn't. No, No, they did not, unfortunately. That would have been, a little bit too much effort. And I believe this wholeheartedly. SI officer says, yep, and those cameras are going to come right back and bite them right in the arse. I agree. And, again, like I said last night, it's a matter of them taking the end of the flashlight video out, when they gave it to America's Most Wanted, whoever did that, for whatever reason, that's what made me decide to go back to that video, because as interested as I am in the Texas Roadhouse footage, I am more interested in what happened at 3 a.m. And there's a lot of different reasons why. So. Oh no, Megan. It must be a full moon tonight. Oh my goodness. Oh no. What were you doing? Were you did you have a lead foot going? Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. That's weird. If there's a neighborhood line, I don't know. Like, who mans the line, I guess, would be a good question, but just so the haters know, I was left loose with a warning. That's a fucking lie. Sebastian Rogers is an Amber Alert. Anyone, anywhere can tip in, and they have to follow needs the Supreme Court on their ass. Yeah, I mean, I would hope people would be smarter than that and call it into the proper authorities. I've never heard of this little tip line, you know. Um, oh, you got a lot of snacks? All right. All right, little Miss Sharon. She said healthy and not so healthy. Yeah, that's me too. I'll be like, okay, I'll get granola bars and yogurt and this and that. And then I'll be like, okay, ice cream. Yeah, SI officer. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, there are a lot of different parts in that video that are very telling about what happened, especially, you know, when you slow it and you have it on a still shot. There's just so much that you can do. Kiki says just cry when you get pulled over. That's funny. You gotta flirt with that cop a little, Meg. No, I'm just kidding. Oh no, your taillight was out. Oh, dang. Oh, okay. An app that you can download. Okay, I will look it up. Thanks, Kiki. Oh yeah, you did double post, huh? I don't know. Sometimes it does that. Like I'll be typing something in into a chat and it'll just send it. And I'll be like, dang it, and it'll be like one word off or two words or whatever. Meow, that's a good one. She's tell him you didn't know because you don't write on the bumper. Really, you wouldn't. How would you know about that? As if the popo doesn't have anything else to do than pull over someone on a tiny little headlight or tiny little tail light. Oh Lord. Sasha says, so Sumner County is refusing to take tips from outside of Tennessee on an amber alert. Is this true? I mean, I don't know if it is or not. I don't even know what line it is that they're using, but I think that is really corrupt if that's the case, because that means that they're intercepting leads or they're trying to filter through what goes through, which is odd, you know. I don't think they tested the water for DNA. Not to my knowledge, no. No, they didn't. Oh, okay. Not sure, Sasha. I think they send them to a voicemail while they're after hours. That's true, little Miss Sharon. Just remember, most people in America have pew-pews, but not like Aussies. Yeah. What was I watching? I was watching something, and I think they were in England, and it was something, and people were like, oh yeah, we don't have, like, you know, pew-pews just in our houses and things like that, you know, and they were talking to an American person, and they're like, oh, okay, you know, they didn't realize it or whatever, and they were talking about it. Thanks, little Miss Sharon. I don't know why we can't just say, hey, Jocelyn, good to see you. It's illegal to not take tips from out of state on Amber Alert. Yeah, I mean, I would think it would be illegal to not take a tip on anything, any kind of crime. I mean, doesn't matter where you are, that's bizarre. Yeah, it's an excuse. I agree, SA officer. Oh no, Meg, that happened because of the hail. Your taillight busted from the hail. Oh my goodness. I know people have been getting a lot of storms and hail. Like, we've gotten like thunderstorms, but just rain, really. And then it's just been really gloomy, like the sun hasn't been out. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here, but I can't wait for it to stop raining. No, Sasha. It's just someone was talking about in the chat how there is this line that they're using for people to call in, but it's only for Tennessee people. Just weird. That's so funny, Kiki. Seriously, what kind of BS is that? No tips from out of state. What the hell? Ridiculous, sketchy is you know what? Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because I mean, it's intercepting leads. It's not allowing for other people, and like Sasha said with the Amber Alert, that should be active everywhere. People should be aware of what's going on. The more, the merrier, right? So, yeah, it would be a federal crime. I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, because the Amber Alert is federal. It's just it's crazy. I don't know. And like I said, it's just kind of something that's been alleged. So I don't know if it's true, but I would like to see the number so I could call it and see what they say. I mean, do they just see you like you have an out of state number? What if you just moved to the area, or what if you have an out of state phone number? I guess I just don't know how that would work, you know? Just listening to the show, Meg, she's like, I wasn't breaking the law. You're breaking the law, breaking the law. I am a cop cam, or saw a cop cam, a guy pew pew, both officers passed, others survived in America. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there was what happened? Was there like an opened shoot situation? What was it, where there were some firefighters who were shot? Something, I saw that earlier. I don't know. That's, I guess there is a phone number that people are supposed to call, only Tennessee people. Oh, that's a good point. SI officer says, or have they just recently posted that stipulation because they are being investigated and someone has some really good tips from out of state? That's a good question, SI officer, and a strong possibility. I mean, I think anything is possible in this case. I'd hate to discount anything at this point. Hey, Tina girl, good to see you. One female caught by herself called back up because she smelled pot. Really? Huh? Smelling the Mary Jane, huh? Hope they only gave you a warning. Yeah, they did. They did meow. Yeah, so it's just been an interesting day, guys. It's just been an interesting day, and some things kind of coming to fruition, other things not. You know, we still have an active manhunt for this guy right here, Travis Decker. You know, he's still at large, and I have to be honest, I thought they probably would have found him by now. I mean, I thought it was going to take him a little bit of doing, but I didn't think that he would be out there this long. So it's kind of making me think that he might not be alive still, quite possibly, but who knows? So, you know, if you see this guy, there's a $20,000 reward for him. 1-800-336-0102. And he took his, you know, daughter's 3 lives, and he's still out there somewhere. So, and then we also have, let's see, Jack and Lily. I thought I had a picture. Okay, here's my Jack and Lily picture. And of course, you know, that was an old candlelight vigil, but there's a picture of them there. They're just so cute. They're still missing, right? And we have some kind of interesting details in that case. But really nothing solid. We had some people come out of the woodwork whenever they put out the reward. In this case, it's $150,000, and it is a cash reward for information leading to where Jack and Lily may be. So we have that still ongoing. A lot of speculation, though, and I'm so hesitant to really believe anything that anybody is saying at this point. I would really like to hear from Malaya Brooks Murray on this. She is the children's mother, but she was last seen like hanging out at the beach with her friend, and they were taking selfies, which was odd. Just so absolutely strange to me. And, you know, maybe it shouldn't be, maybe it's no big deal, but, you know, she hasn't come out and said, you know, really anything. And they're still missing, you know, and then they've stopped looking in the woods for them. I can't say with any type of certainty where these children are, but I don't think they're in the woods. I just really don't think they would have made it far. If they would have went into the woods, we would have found them. They would have found them. So that's just kind of where I'm at there. Yeah, that stinks though, Meg. I'm sorry that the hail got your tail light. Sasha says, my opinion, pack of pervs. Lady, what does your background say? Did CP and KP do what? It says, sorry, I made myself a little bit bigger there. It says, did CP and KP go by the Don and Candace playbook? We were talking a little bit earlier, and I popped it up on there. It basically just, I'm wondering if Chris and Katie followed true crime cases, because in the Queen Bee live that she did when they were on the panel, they mentioned Summer Wells twice while Chris did, and it was very bizarre. He has mentioned other cases too, not just Summers, but I think that maybe they could have, you know, looked at some of these cases as a kind of, you know, what to do and what not to do sort of a thing, you know. And I just feel like we really just need to look at one little mistake that they've made, and it could really crack things open. Oh, CP is, yeah, definitely pervy. He says that he's not pervy, and he said that law enforcement said he's not pervy, but we all know he's pervy. And Sammy says, OMG, no style, no character, no personality and decor, clothing, flower beds. Can't believe they're younger than me. I agree there, Sammy. Oh, really? Little Miss Sharon says in Australia, they have two cops together, never by themselves. That's smart, I think. I think that's, I would feel more comfortable having a partner for sure. Especially some of the situations they go into. Oh, Meg, you do not look like a bum. Nice. My license plate matched the make and model of my vehicle. Imagine that. Oh my God. That's funny. Imagine that happening. In my opinion, I bet they follow true now. CP is a creep and a monster, in my opinion. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I was thinking about pulling some of the things in when he went on tour. I did do the video, you know, when he was being really, really vile. I think it was on Clue's channel. And, you know, I pulled that in because Seth did a rebuttal, and it kind of, you know, made more sense putting it all together. And so I did that, but we really didn't review much else, you know, other than this really shitty shit comment that he made on Granny's watching right
very
here.
high functioning.
I mean, and that's why, like, I was trying to just put it out there. Is like everybody has come up with this idea, and that's not the case. People wouldn't know Sebastian. Like, if we'd had never said he was autistic, people would not have a clue that Sebastian was autistic. They would thought something was wrong with him, and not ever said autism.
Right. And you know what? If he
So he went up there and said that bullshit, and I mean, that's just par for the course with Chris. I mean, he just says those things without thinking at all. He just pulls it out of his ass and says it, and then he sits back and says, I don't know why everybody, doesn't like me. I don't know. I think we got off on the wrong foot. I must have made the wrong first impression. No, I think it was your other 75 impressions, Dick. Kiki says, sent you a picture of a place you download the app. Oh, thank you. Crazy emailed. Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Kiki. And thank you for your super chat. Thank you. That's wonderful. I need to get onto doing TikToks. That's my next venture is TikToks. There was a live where CP was talking about following true crime on YouTube since before Cavalcante went missing. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sammy. He's talked about several cases, and it's just kind of strange in a way that he would bring it up as he does. Not that he would follow true crime, right? Because, I mean, I could say the same thing about myself. That'd be like me saying it's weird to follow true crime, but I follow true crime, and all of us do. So it's not weird. It's just what he said too. And he was talking about following Summer's case and saying that, right after Sebastian went missing, her age progression photo came out, and that's not true. So it's just weird how he presented it all. But thank you, Sammy, because I'm glad someone else remembered too. But definitely bringing up Summer's case on the Queen Bee panel, twice, and kind of people were like not really saying much, if I can remember correctly. It wasn't like there was a whole conversation about it, but it was definitely mentioned, and it was mentioned twice. And I was like, okay, that's weird, right? And why would he do that? Hey, Starflower says something is wrong with Sebastian. I don't think so, sir. Exactly. I think you are the one who has something wrong. Yeah. And I mean, he doesn't really realize, thank you so much, Starflower. I couldn't agree more. And I think he doesn't even really realize that when people look at him, we just think there's something wrong with him too. But it's nothing like, something you can't control, like being on the spectrum. It's something deeper than that. He's a real asshole, And I feel sorry for Sebastian for having to live with somebody like that, SI officer says, Sammy, hi, good to see you. The video images that you were referring to the other day, is that the driveway where all the vehicles were? Because I have seen the costumes that you're referring to. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Sorry, guys. That makes it so small, and I don't want to drop that referral link. Pain in the butt. Hey, Detroit Rock City. Oh, little Miss Sharon, thank you so much. Thanks so much for your super sticker. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, yeah, guys. So I'm really under. Thank you, little Miss Sharon. That's so sweet of you. I'm just really thinking that they could have done their research a little bit here, and I've kind of, bounced that idea around here and there. But it's weird that they're just bringing this up, not really for any good reason. And, I would think that maybe the panelists would bring something like that up, or, but, he had said, I don't want Sebastian to end up like another Summer Wells. And I thought that was weird because, how if you didn't follow, and this is how I know this, is because I did not follow the YouTube crap around Summer's case. I just did not. I was not a part of that on YouTube, but I did follow the story, as salacious as it was, even on the news, and then even on Dr. Phil. There was a lot of things, but like even some of the other people involved, I've had to become familiar with, recently, rather than, 4 years ago or during the 4 years that Summer's been missing. And then we hear that, Mr. Proudfoot is kind of referencing this child who hasn't been found either, and whose parents, even though there were such strong suspicions surrounding them, have not been charged with anything, and yet we still have a missing child. So it's bizarre that he would choose a case that wasn't solved. And maybe this is just me, I mean, I myself, if it was my stepson, I would be trying to compare cases where there was a positive outcome rather than someone who was never found. And I think that speaks volumes about Chris himself when he speaks like that, in terms of what he's thinking about Sebastian never being found. Because most parents, even if that's not your biological child, you want nothing more for them to come home, and you want them to be found. And so you would want the best possible outcome, not the worst. It's kind of like when Don was talking about all of the things that could have happened to Summer, and just the brutal nature of what he was saying about what he thought happened to her. I mean, who thinks like that? Most of us wouldn't think that way. Most of us would never even want to go there in our brains. We would kind of block that off, but we don't see that. It's super bizarre. I did see the Dylan Redwine case, SI officer. I did. With the diaper situation, it kind of makes me wonder. Tina Girl says the diapers were to humiliate him. I agree, Tina. I agree 100,000%. And the reason why is because we watch Sebastian just like anyone else, sitting at the table with whoever they're eating with. He has to use the restroom. Excuse me. He gets up, he uses the restroom without assistance, and he comes back to the table. So why the pull-ups? Absolutely to humiliate. Absolutely. No other reason for it. He was a grown boy. He didn't need that. SI officer says absolutely, Tina, but I also viewed that case. It makes me wonder what possibly could have led to this premeditation, along with what was already known, contributed, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with that too. That's a great point. And I've really had a strong feeling that, and kind of because of what I think I know, right, has led me to believe that there was premeditation here, just because there's no perfect crime, and especially in the time frame they had, it just wasn't long enough to do what they did without it being something that was thought out or planned, right? And something that they were prepared for, in my opinion. And oh no, you lost the internet, and there's been so much bad storms. We were talking about it, and people saying they had hail, and my goodness. We haven't had any hail damage. I know parts of Florida got pretty hammered, but luckily we haven't. We have not had anything like that. So, we've been pretty lucky with that. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of things in the Sebastian Rogers case that I think that we really need to re-examine when it comes to what really happened, because we don't know. But I think there's going to be some things that I've found, and some things that I've been working with others behind the scenes on. That can possibly bring us a little bit of a deeper understanding to what's really happened here. So it's really unnerving, in my opinion. Nice overgrown yard all to themselves. I haven't looked to see, and I don't think anybody's driven by, in a while. I know that I was told that the yard sign was kind of not upright. It was falling over and no one fixed it. I thought that was really, really odd, especially just, you would think that they would have some sort of a memorial or something out there for Sebastian. I would. Ribbons. I mean, we've talked about that before. It's just really, really unfortunate that they haven't done more. And I know some people say, oh, they've been doing things behind the scenes. Prove it. I want to see it. Because even in Kyron Horman's case, I mean, his mother is out there and she's like, you do what you got to do, right? You just do what you got to do, and you don't think about it. You don't have to think about doing the right thing when the right thing is already in your heart. It just comes natural. It doesn't take any pushing. You don't have to force anything. It's natural. Just like bad comes naturally to some. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh no, did you get a sunburn, Kiki? Oh gosh, I hate sunburn so much. Like, they're always mostly in the most awkward spot where you couldn't get the suntan lotion, right? Oh my goodness. Have one day of rain at the beach. I'm so burned. Oh my goodness. Well, just sit that day in the air conditioner. Aloe vera is really good for soothing sunburns. They haven't done sheet. Baby gone to a few pig roasts, right? Yeah, they've only gone to the pig roast, right? What was it, Pig Fest or whatever, where they had like all you can eat pork or something. I don't know. My goodness, these people. And I just don't know how they do it. I couldn't be anything but like Desiree Young or Brandy Neal, and so I really can't quite understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but a lot of things lately haven't made a whole lot of sense to me. So I've been piecing it together, though. Wait, what is it, Sasha, about their ear clips? The vet lady still wants to clip their ear. Can't people tell if they don't have their... Huh. I didn't hear about that. But yeah, so I'm going to be working on that. I'm trying to think. I don't know. And maybe you guys could let me know even in the comments, because I was thinking about maybe doing it on a members only, but I'm still going to be doing a members only. So I don't know how we're going to put it all in. And again, some of what I need to show you all is going to be a little bit difficult to present. And so I'm working on a way to present it. Yeah, so Detroit, yeah, Grady Judd offered to help Sebastian and told him, and they told him no thanks. Yeah, allegedly. I heard that as well, from multiple sources, that Grady Judd, who is the sheriff of Polk County here in Florida, he is an exemplary example of what law enforcement should be, in my opinion. And he offered to help find Sebastian, and he was told, no thanks, allegedly. So thanks, Detroit. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I heard that too, or that was my understanding. The response is no to everything. And that's what has become so frustrating, right? And then, of course, again, like I said, when they're going on and deciding to, just act like the lights video didn't happen, it was a trash truck. And then when America's Most Wanted showed the flashlight video, there had to have been someone somewhere that saw some value in that activity in the neighborhood the night Sebastian went missing. But it's like it never happened, right? Because they took the end of it out that shows that someone that came from the house went back to the house, and that was the key, and they erased it from existence. Why would they do that? All help has been rejected. Little Miss Sharon, I mean, it is what it is, but it doesn't make any sense. It absolutely makes no sense. I love Sheriff Grady Judd. Yes, he's fantastic. He is fantastic. And he's really into catching the bad guys, right? I mean, he'll do stings. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter. He just wants to right the wrongs, and that's what we need. He's all about justice. And again, like what we were talking about last night, he doesn't hold his officers to a lower standard. He holds them to a higher standard, as a matter of fact. So Sasha says, Sebastian, our wonderful child, I've done all I can do to give these cats the best life. Fact, 100%. Yeah, and it's just absolutely frustrating. I'm hoping that once we can bring some of this to light, that it'll make things a little bit more clear for the public. That's right, SI officer, we're tired of the silence, and we're not going to tolerate it much longer. It is so unfortunate. It is. And it's high time somebody did something about all of this. Just sitting around and acting like it doesn't exist, or acting like, these people going completely crazy is a normal response. No, it's not. There's nothing normal about it again. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Kiki. That's a good point. Looks like at some point someone goes over their heads and just do it, in my opinion. Try to find him. Why need permission? Well, and, even though some of the things that I want to present to you will bring a little bit more clarity, or you'll be able to look and decipher it for yourself, at the end of the day, there's still going to be the question of, where is Sebastian? I think that question will remain. And unfortunately, that's who we need to find. Because when we do find Sebastian, he's going to tell us what happened to him. No matter how he's found. I couldn't be more disappointed in local law enforcement, Sasha. I couldn't be more disappointed in the true crime community, if I'm being honest, especially as of late. I couldn't be more disappointed with the way Sebastian's case has been handled from day one. And I don't know if it's, the deepest level of corruption, or if it's just because people that don't want him found are doing a good job of hiding things or creating the chaos necessary to keep things under their control. There's a lot of things and things that, I mean, honestly, I don't even want to admit some of the things that I think about because it's so crazy. But then when I see the behaviors, it kind of, solidifies what I was thinking. And it's like, go with your gut, listen to your intuition. That's what it's there for. Especially when you see half of the stuff that's been going on in this case. And we don't see that stuff, going on in other cases. All evidence has either been destroyed or not investigated. I mean, it seems that way because they're saying they don't have any evidence. They don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And don't look at the flashlight video. And, all of these things, the Texas Roadhouse video doesn't matter. None of these things matter. But how are you finding Sebastian if you're not looking back at all of these elements that we have in the case? The last place he was seen alive, the last known footage of him taking out the trash at his house, the activity around his house at 3:10 a.m. in the morning. There's a lot of things there that they're overlooking, and they're saying, oh, nothing to see here. SI officer says this case has completely changed me. I have been so frustrated and never known corruption like this, in my opinion. And this boy was failed by so many. I agree, SI officer, and it is something that I am, I too am guilty of, and I feel like Sebastian has been failed so many times, and it's just, it's really unfortunate. And I think that's why we can't forget that he's still out there. We have to keep his story in the forefront. And I think going over and analyzing the details is really something that we should be doing. And in my opinion, it's because they all extended the rabbit hole. It's just not this case. Like I said, it's generational corruption. Yeah, well, and it's hard to really fathom, right? It's like looking at it and saying, because that's how I feel too. It's like I kind of feel like I'm crazy, right? Like it can't be that bad, right? It can't really be that bad. But then when you look at it, you're like, well, I guess it really could be that bad, right? And it looks like it probably is really that bad. So a lot to consider, and I'm trying to consider it logically and think about it critically. One of the main reasons that I even watch what Chris says or what Katie says is because of that, because I want to hear what they have to say, and how they say it is really important, because you have to read between the lines with somebody who's not telling you the truth, right? And you have to kind of figure out different ways of getting it out of them, because they're not going to be truthful either way. But you can probably find out enough information to come up with some semblance of the truth. And I think that we've seen that, and that's why Katie doesn't come out and speak ever, because every time she does, she ruins it for herself in terms of, giving up too much information, saying things like, I would bulldoze him down with, kisses and hugs, and, her oh shit moment that she had, you know, all of that stuff comes into play, and it's very telling. You know, it just is. It's very telling about what's going on in their brain and what they're trying to, you know, be careful with saying, and what they're trying to tell us without telling us, you know, because we're not wired to lie. And we will tell on ourselves, you know, you just got to listen closely. Yeah, we did. We saw the lack of Ellie in Summer Wells too. Thank you, Little Miss Sharon. And, you know, even talking about it yesterday, when it comes to Daniela Mendolia's case, there's really just a lack of an investigation, and they're not willing to say that, right? Or they don't want the details of what they know to come out because it's incriminating to someone. And we saw that with how there was such bad corruption and even harming children from the sheriff's son, you know, Ronnie Lawson's. So Anne thinks he's somewhere in North Carolina. Sebastian is. Yeah, well, that's my understanding, Kiki, that Katie has lawyered up. So, yes, it was said that she lawyered up. And I believe they lawyered up very early on, if I could take a guess, or someone was giving them advice, because you can hear someone in the background when it comes to the conversation between Chris, Katie, and Heather Cohen. There was someone else there that I could hear Katie talking to, and that was also talking in the background, a man's voice. But she definitely shut everything down after the Queen Bee interview back in May, or panel. It wasn't really an interview, it was a panel. And that was it. And then we heard from her on the year anniversary. And then they came out and spoke to Dateline and America's Most Wanted, you know, recently. So that's so true. SA officer says, who knows what happens behind closed doors with her, like in Nina's case, for example. Yeah, and we never will know, you know, and that's what's kind of frustrating too. And I'll be honest, I didn't think Chris and Katie were going to stick it out together as long as they have, because there were problems in the marriage. It was alleged that there was, you know, some turmoil there, right? And even Heather Cohen, the first time she came out and talked to News Nation with Seth, she said that there was a domino effect that she believes caused everything to kind of occur. We do know that CPS was involved. We do know that mandated reporters were calling in things that were going on or things that were happening or that they witnessed. We also know that Sebastian was in counseling, and he was telling a counselor weekly what was going on, and that there was some very detailed notes involved in that. So, well, that's a good question. Why would you need a lawyer? Kiki says, why would you need a lawyer if you were looking for, you know, a missing child? You wouldn't, unless you were planning on suing the police for botching their investigation. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Anne says the picture of the kid at Grandfather Mountain is him, and they don't want anyone to know. Yeah, see, that's interesting, Anne, because I know they came out and they said that it wasn't him, or that his mom had, you know, the child's mom had verified it, but, you know, they never really came out and did a public statement, you know. Women's Warrior, absolutely. Crystal Jones, I mean, a high level of corruption, in my opinion. A high level of corruption. And then there were just so many things that were just completely wrong with the way that her husband, Tony, handled the situation. That's a good point. SI officer says, let's just imagine for an example, allegedly 6 to 8 people you are surrounded by. That is family, for example, like Nina. We just don't know. Yeah. And I mean, and according to Nina and other sources, you know, the Foot Clan is very tight. They do things for each other. They do each other's dirty work for each other. No questions asked. Everybody shows up, shows out, and gets their feet and hands dirty. And Kiki says, looks just like him and Lady Freedom. Did Seth actually get to lay eyes on the boy in North Carolina? You know, to my knowledge, he did not. He did not. It's to my knowledge, he went to Grandfather Mountain as soon as he saw the picture, right? He headed out there, and the police told him that they really didn't want to show him any of the footage because they didn't want him reacting if he saw something that would have made him react, right? So like if he saw a license plate number for a vehicle and, you know, he was going to go check it out himself and things like that. But I don't believe that Seth did get to lay eyes on him. And then I also know that he told, I'm trying to think of which person's panel he was on, and it may have even been Nancy Grace or someone, maybe Court TV, but he said that, you know, he was thankful to the boy's mother and for coming out and verifying and that sort of thing, and you know, that he definitely thought the young man resembled Sebastian. I agree. Sasha says, okay, so obstruction of justice with intent, but we got to prove a crime took place. We need the Supreme Court. I don't know what we can do since Sumner County won't give this case up. That is, you know, the worst part of it, in my opinion. Sasha says, because it's a felony to not take tips on a potential abduction case and hinder the investigation. I hope these people know. Fact 100%. Yeah, I mean, it would be a federal crime, I believe, to hinder an investigation when there's an active Amber Alert, all of that. Yeah, really. Yeah, I think I could get on board with that. SI officer says, I mean, why don't we join the lawsuit for mental anguish? Oh man, and so sometimes you're just mentally exhausted from looking at all of this information and over analyzing, and it's just been really an emotional roller coaster, you know. Little Miss Sharon says, Lady Freedom, KP and CP have to stick together for how long, but Sebastian was the only issue in their relationship, so I'm not surprised at all. Oh, that is a really good point. That is a really good point. You know, Sebastian was the issue as far as they were saying, right? Chris was giving ultimatums, allegedly it's him or me, that sort of thing. And so that now Sebastian's not in the picture, it's all good. Yeah, because I was thinking it was because, you know, they were both involved and now they can't leave each other. They're kind of stuck, you know, but you're right. It could have very well been, you know, Chris saying, hey, you know, it's him or me, and now I'll be, you know, nice to you or whatever. Yeah, that should never happen in an Amber Alert case, Sasha, never. Kiki says, is it possible that KP and CP change his name without Seth's permission Just curious. I'd like your opinion. Just thoughts over. Had not anything I've heard. Well, I think that anything is possible. I mean, it's not that hard to get like a fake ID and things like that. It would take some work, and it would take somebody that's very, corrupt to do that. But yeah, I think they could have. I do. I think that they could have. And, I'm not even discounting that they could have taken him in the middle of the night to a school for children with behavioral issues, and something bad happened there, and people are covering up there. But, oh, I agree. Women's Warrior, 100%. Absolutely well said. Women's Warrior says the coordination of the attack on Nina shows what they are capable of, in my opinion. Absolutely. Everyone was there, right? And then Katie was filming it, and everyone was on board with, terrorizing Nina and taking her baby, and all of that. They were all involved in that, and taking her baby, and then all being there when she was to hand, when Chris was to hand Faith back to her mother. Yeah, well, that's a great point too. Tina Girl says Sebastian would still know his own name. He would. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I mean. Once we find him, we're going to get all the answers we've ever wanted. I mean, I don't know if there's a way to get a hold of, like, write a letter to the Supreme Court, Sasha. That would be a really good idea, because I still haven't picked anybody for our letter writing campaign this next go round. So that might be something to look into, definitely. Nina is going to be important if this goes to court, in my opinion. I agree, Little Miss Sharon. I think she'll be an intricate part of what happens here. Hey, Mama Bear. Yeah, I do. Like Seth said, they ignore him about tips, and it's an Amber Alert case. If we can prove some form of crime is occurring, then we can go for intent and felony obstruction. Well, and I mean, I think it would be hard to find out, just because they're so tight-lipped about everything in terms of law enforcement. Oh, okay. Yeah, Kiki says they could blank license plate, in my opinion, and let him see. I think that's crazy, because you never know who's hiding what. Oh, absolutely. It's very unnerving, especially in this case, especially when we think about the level of corruption it would take to orchestrate all of this and to prolong the investigation, hinder it, everything, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, it's time to get the court's eyes to see it. Well, I was even thinking of the AG, right? The Attorney General, writing the Attorney General's office. Ann Reynolds says after sitting the boy, the mother took the picture of the boy off. Oh, okay. So after I did hear that too, that she took her son's pictures off of Facebook, and I didn't know if it was because of all of the attention maybe they were getting, or some other reason. So that's a good point, Ann. Though, thanks for bringing that up. That's a good question. Why would they do that if that's your kid? The only thing I can think of is if they were getting unwanted attention and they just didn't want to have, like, his picture up anymore. That's the only thing I can think of why they would do that. Because, I mean, I wouldn't take my kid's picture off Facebook. Town Chat Cafe says, ladies, so what the, so was that during the interview that they had with Nancy Grace when they were in the RV? Were they in Oregon during that time? It's my knowledge they were in at the Yogi Bear campgrounds in Memphis, I believe, because Chris was down there for work still, and that was my understanding. But yeah, that I'm not sure if at all or when they went to Oregon. I did hear that they did, but I'm not sure. Mama Bear says, I can't even compare the Wells to the Proudfoots. Clear motives matter to me. I can't find one with the Wells. The Proudfoots have multiple CPS trying to get custody of Faith, believe Sebastian a pedo. Right, yeah. Oh, I agree with that in terms of the many reasons they were giving, or the many bad things that they were saying about Sebastian. Now, I did hear that CPS was supposed to be coming to the house when it came to summer. But I tend more towards summer being trafficked, and that's, but it's hard with the milk jug photo, because I don't know of anybody that could sleep that soundly on a milk jug, cold milk. Women's Warrior says there's a behavior school at Grandfather Mountain that is a scholarship as long as the child is 15 and under, and their behaviors are manageable to the point they are academically, so they can sit through exams and things like that. Okay, thank you, Women's Warrior. Right. And I think that, Sebastian would have done fine with that. It looked like he was okay setting for, a period of time, and he seemed to have really good manners. That was the thing in the Texas Roadhouse that really got me. Well, and it wasn't even the Texas Roadhouse that got me. The first time it got me seeing Sebastian's personality was the first video that Seth put out of Sebastian playing tag. The way that he was very gentle with the little girls he was playing with, his demeanor towards others, everything. And then Seth put out the Christmas video where Sebastian helps the little girl who's standing next to him with her sash. And he doesn't hesitate. She's having trouble with it. He looks over and sees it. He helps her, and then he gets back to what he was doing. That spoke volumes to me. We learned about Sebastian's sense of humor when we saw the green tea video, but even more so when Seth told the story about the officer at school, the school resource officer, and, asking him how many tickets he's going to give out. Really, really funny. Silly, feisty kid, right? Tenacious, all those good things. And then the Texas Roadhouse video comes out, and I watched Sebastian being very attentive to his mother. I watched Sebastian being very kind and courteous to the waitstaff. And I don't see the same from Katie. We also see Sebastian use the bathroom without assistance. Town Chat says, so maybe that man had his wife with him, and that was the couple that was seen at the Ford's Pond in Oregon. Yeah, see, I'm not as familiar with that, Town Chat. I really am not, because I know a lot of people were talking about Ford's Pond. I know some people said that it's shaped like Katie's heart tattoo. It was, yeah, the Nancy Grace interview was definitely done in the RV. The one with the United Cajun Navy and Aaron Conlon. Okay, Town Chat says Women's Warrior and Kiki Also keep in mind that, in my opinion, allegedly, .orgs and grants can be set up through churches too, and nobody would question it. Oh, that's a really good point. Town Chat Cafe. Yeah, absolutely could happen. Absolutely could happen in this case. No doubt, because we have that other, the church where it was alleged that Sebastian was being, taken to, and they had some pretty extreme views on many people who would be considered, I guess, different. In my opinion, they're absolutely insane, if that's true. Sasha says there's an awful lot of evidence in this case to not get anywhere. Any other sector would be in court by now, I'm convinced. Yeah, I agree. I think there's more evidence here. I think they have more evidence than they say they are. That they say they have. Excuse me. And NASA officer says, "Oh yes, Sasha." And Mama Bear says, "Off subject, but it will just not stop raining up here in Pennsylvania. Never in my life." Oh my goodness, Mama Bear. Aw. I heard it's like really, really rainy everywhere, and people are getting hail and just storms and everything. We've had a lot of rain here too, and I'm over it. I'm ready for it to stop too. SI officer says, "Yes, that is the last and final to everything that we have already done, the Attorney General." I'm thinking that's a good person to do the next letter writing campaign with. And I'll have to figure out and get all the information for us. But that might be a really good person to write. And writing several people can't hurt anything. It's doing something rather than nothing. Women's Warrior says, "When I found out, I sent the information to TBI Dog, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, etc. a year ago almost. So I sure they hope they checked it out." Yeah, and that's what we were talking about the other night too in here, that it's so difficult because you'll get a response, but it's more of like a canned response or a no reply, and then it'll tell you, we've received the information, thank you, blah blah blah. But it says clearly on the TBI when they send you back an email once they get it, they'll tell you that it's not manned all the time and that it's just for the public use only, to send in tips. And unfortunately, we don't know whether they get them or not, or they look at them or not, they follow up, any of that. We don't know. We just don't know. It's kind of a crapshoot. You send it in and hope for the best. I don't know why Sumner County ignored the abuse, Sasha. It's beyond me. It is. It's beyond me. Yeah. Great. That is a great point, Town Chat. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really evident, as that officer says, that Sumner County has an issue. I agree. And then they don't want to give the case up, right? They're holding on to it for dear life and not coming up with anything. So you have no information, almost 500 days into the investigation, but you have nothing. But you won't give it up. Why? Sasha, that's a great point. For some reason, they ignored abuse and simply chalked it up to the snuggle struggle, I guess. It seems that way, right? Like, no big deal. Let's minimize everything, And they have done a really great job of minimizing a lot of the information in this case, in my opinion. There is a very sketchy camp near there too. Women's Warrior, absolutely. I also did a live talking about the school up in Gallatin that Katie and Chris wanted to send Sebastian to, and then Seth said no. There was a report made from New Hampshire. They had sent some of their youth down to Gallatin to this school, and they were horrifically abused, and there was a whole write-up about it. So He doesn't take abuse seriously, Sasha. I agree. No, Craddock does not, unfortunately. And, he minimizes it like it's not that big of a deal. And that is a problem, because I would never want to go to him as a victim. I would never want to send any victims to him just because he doesn't take it seriously, and it is, it's not okay. That's not something that you would expect from a law enforcement officer. In my opinion, it's completely wrong. SI officer says, I believe it was all of it combined, and he was getting comfortable and opening up to his teachers and becoming more of an issue with CP once at his house back in his daughter. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that too. The domino effect, or the snowball, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there were several issues, I believe, just like Mama Bear said. There are definitely several issues. Yeah, Little Miss Sharon says Wells and Sebastian different, of course, but the involvement of LE same. Zilch crickets, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely, Little Miss Sharon. I agree. And there's some other little, nuances that I could find that were very, very similar. They were both playing. They were both last with, in their own home. All of a sudden, they were just gone. We don't know what happened to them. And then we have these weird elements that are coming in, right? These SCX, ABUSE elements. We have all kinds of weird pedos within the family, right? Chomos on both sides. In Summer Wells's case, and then in Katie's case, her mother, Frances. And for those of you who don't know who Frances is, I will show you. So there's that Frances. Oh, sorry guys, I just got lost in chat here. Yeah, it's pretty evident that Mr. Gum Chomper thinks or views everything the same, Sasha. Women's War, or Mama Bear says the Williams Women's Warrior, excuse me. Well, then what happened when they turn older than 15? Sebastian turned 16. Wow, he's actually 16 and a half now, isn't he? Poor kid. Yeah, I agree. Well, and that's the thing. Some of these places will be like, oh, they're going to stay until they finish it out. It's weird. It's very strange, these schools that they have for kids. And they are very secretive, Oh, yeah. SI officer, I agree. Sebastian is a sweet, caring, scared, wanted to please child, in my opinion, from what I saw. Absolutely. I think that he was definitely looking for approval from Katie. No doubt. He wanted to please her. He was kind to other people. He wanted to please others. Good night, Kiki. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful vacation. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm probably going to be hopping off of here myself really soon. Just looked it up and I was like, oh gosh, I've been on for 2 hours. Tina Girl says, Texas Roadhouse, Sebastian was on high alert. I have a feeling he knew something was up. I agree. He was definitely on alert, in my opinion. He was scanning everything, watching everything, and I think I've heard also that Sebastian is very observant. He is very observant, but I think he was more alert that day, right? Sort of like a hypervigilance, in my opinion. Yeah, I think they do realize everybody knows exactly what happened, Sasha. I think they do realize that. And I think that's why they are so quiet. And I think that's why they've been so hostile when they have come out And I think that's why they're so upset when anybody does talk about the still photos from the flashlight video. Yeah, I agree with you, Seclusion Works. I just find it to be so odd that she would wait by the car for that long if she had to use the bathroom. I mean, there's so many weird factors about the green hoodie, though. There just really is. Just something about that interaction that is very strange. And once I can get, I need to work on clearing some things out of my phone, but once I can get the footage from Mr. and Mrs. E's downloaded, I think you guys will be able to have a better picture of it. But Seclusion Works says, I am not putting much stock in the green hoodie thing. It seems too random. I mean, and I thought so too at first. I can't lie. SI officer says, enjoy your vacation and stay safe, Kiki. Women's Warrior says, so they have to be under 16 years old. That's why I reported it, because it fit the narrative and the sighting of the child who looks like him in that area. Yeah, and I think it's important to report anything we think, I mean, it can't hurt anything. I mean, they have to look into it, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's better to look into it than have it be overlooked, in my opinion. No, I don't think so either. Little Miss Sharon says, I'm pretty sure Sebastian had no problems using the toilet when CP was not around, in my opinion. I agree. And let's not forget, when children or anyone is in fear, sometimes that will happen. There's a regression. You may have nightmares. You may wet the bed. There's things that happen, especially in children. Absolutely. I think he was the issue for 100%. Sebastian was walking on eggshells. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I hear you, Seclusion Works. Things are getting blown out of proportion with the green hoodie. Sasha says, well, the terry towel lady really brought closer together, my opinion, that new flavor. LOL, sickening. Yeah. I hear ya. Town Chat says, lady, are you or anyone here allowed to mention her name? The mom of the boy. The mom of the boy. I mean, I mention people's names here. I don't really give too many nicknames out because I try to keep it, like if somebody was to like clip my video, I would want them to hear me say like Katie Proudfoot or Chris Proudfoot or Seth Rogers or, whatever, their first names only or whatever. So that way, because it gets really confusing. I don't really like to, because it does. It makes it confusing. And then, like say somebody decides to learn about Sebastian's case, even 2 years from now, and they go back and they're like, what the heck is this woman talking about with this and that and this, who are these people? So yeah, I try to keep it to their names. Little Miss Sharon says, I have a level 2 autistic teen, and if I throw the menu at her like that, she would be on high alert also. Of course, Little Miss Sharon. And I would be on high alert if my mom did that to me. I would be. I would think, uh-oh, she's mad at me. She's upset with me over something, right? Absolutely. That is such a great point. And, I would be like that too. And I don't know if it's because, I'm an empath or whatever, and I can just kind of feel the tension. But that action would have definitely thrown me into overdrive on that, most definitely. I would have been on high alert as well. Yeah, really plump, dirty birds, in my opinion. Yucky. Seclusion Works says the hoodie looks like they were sitting down having a cig. Oh, okay. They looks like near Katie's car? Or by the bushes, because I know she was out by the bushes for a little bit. Mama Bear says, yes, he is. It infuriated me when Chris said after he punished Sebastian how he would come wrap his arms around him and tell him he loved him, because that's what special needs children do. Well, I mean, I think it's, a lot of children, when we're little and we, or when we're younger and we disappoint our parents, or we know that they're, not happy with us, we do try to, please them, right? And we seek out the approval again. That's a really good point too, Mama Bear. Thank you. Seclusion Work says people need to stop blowing every detail out of proportion. It's all connected. The most minor detail is treated as huge. In my honest opinion, it's become out of control. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. And I mean, we talked a lot about that too here, about, how people will fill in the blanks because we don't know. And it's just something that we kind of naturally do in processing. But I agree that there's some things that, are maybe being analyzed that aren't anything. And I think a lot of that comes from the distrust in law enforcement and people feeling like they're not doing all they can. And so, we're trying to do the most to kind of make up for that. I wonder if it's possible that Sebastian had Stockholm syndrome with Chris and Katie. I think it was maybe more of, well, because, I might agree with that, Mama Bear, and I don't think that it's impossible or anything, but I do think that when it comes to Sebastian and the way that he perceived things in the house as him telling his dad, I don't think Mr. Chris and Mom like me very much, and him saying something like that definitely makes me believe that he knew he wasn't wanted around and that he was looked at as a burden. And I think that it really played a major part in, how he felt about himself, his role in the family, everything. And, just even thinking about how, his step grandma didn't allow him to go on the Disney vacation and brought the other kids with, it's just terrible. I wonder, oh, sorry, I did that one. Katie Proudfoot was the last person to see Sebastian. So yes, Katie Proudfoot is Sebastian's mom's name. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a problem talking about, the case as it is, I don't think there's any reason to not talk about it as it is, I really don't. Oh, Detroit says the rain's been so bad here, the mosquitoes are taking over. Oh no, we could barely sit outside. It was so bad and humid. Oh, plus the fish flies. Oh, fireflies are crazy. Oh my goodness. It just does bring out all the bugs, doesn't it? The rain. It does here too. Big time. Big time. And Women's Warrior says, I think Seth should run for sheriff against Craddock and get the job done, in my opinion. Oh, Women's Warrior. Whoa. Now that's something. That is really something. I agree. I bet you he'd win. Katie said she wants to bulldoze Sebastian. She sure did. Her words, not ours, right? Ann Reynolds says they don't want to get a bad name for not doing their job. I agree, Ann, 100%. That is a logical explanation. That is a logical explanation. Oh, Seclusion, you're fine. No worries. No worries. As long as it's not, like, I think so-and-so did this, or, no allegedly or anything. No, you're fine. All opinions are welcome. Katie Proudfoot left her husband verbally destroy her son after he went missing. And see, I can say all of this because it's true. Ain't that right, Katie Proudfoot? Yeah, and it is right. She sat there and she would laugh at him. She was laughing at Sebastian. Oh, he has a very unique rhythm. Trying not to laugh. It's like you can hide behind, and we can't see what your body language is, Katie, but we can still hear you. And I've told this story before, I think, on here. I took a training class one time about being on the phones, and it was interesting. They had us close our eyes, and then they had us, the person next to us say a statement, and we had to say if yes, they're smiling, or no, they're not. And you could hear someone smiling over the phone. You can hear those little nuances in someone's voice, right? You can hear the sadness. You can hear the joy. You can hear, indifference. We can hear all of these things. So if she thinks she's fooling people, she's sadly mistaken, Yeah, I don't think so either, Town Chat. But they were saying that it resembles the Ford Pond, Katie's tattoo, but I don't know. I don't see the major connection there. That's where I agree with you. Seclusion is something like that. I'm kind of like, it's something to speculate on. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. To me, I'm not really on board with that. Yeah, Detroit, I heard the same thing. You have to be a police officer for 2 years and have gone through extensive training to become sheriff, allegedly. Yes, I've heard the same thing. And I don't know if you have to serve as constable or if that person was lying, because that person is a liar that said that. So I don't really believe anything that comes out of the mouth of that one. Sasha, yes, and let him belt him. Yeah. And what else? And only God knows what else. Exactly, little Miss Sharon. Only God knows what else. And he bragged about it, Katie said he wore pull-ups because he would go through a regression phase, Sasha. And then Seth comes out and says, well, actually, he didn't wear the pull-ups at my house, and I was given all of his underwear from their house because he was to wear the pull-ups at their house, Mama Bear says seclusion, absolutely. I found myself having to let loose and speak the angst that gets pent up in me over when they did, or over what they did to Sebastian. He didn't run off into the harsh terrain of the Tennessee woods. I don't think so either. I don't think he would have walked off into the night with no shoes on, or a coat, because it was chillier that night after they came home from the Texas Roadhouse. The evening probably wasn't as cool, but then it cools down overnight, Didn't take any of his money, didn't take his phone, didn't take anything. And that was another thing. In the beginning, they made us believe, or tried to make us believe, that Sebastian couldn't have handled himself. And we find out that he could. Really a big red flag. Sasha says she said didn't check anything could be going on in there. Yeah, with Step Pappy, she doesn't check. She said she doesn't. Yeah, no. And she said, I don't want to know what he's doing in there, right? He's a 15-year-old boy and he could be doing anything in there. And I don't want to know what he's doing, And she said that again on Queen Bee a couple of times, I don't want to know. And did that whole little weird shit she did. SA officer says, I truly believe that KP is submissive in that household and subservient because it is an environment she never had. It is a house, or it is his house and their family, so went along with it failing Sebastian. Yeah, I definitely think this is a case where the parent has chosen their significant other over their child. Absolutely, SI officer. Yeah. Yeah, she said, I'm scared to check on Sebastian because it could be pervy. Well, what was going on in there, Katie? What did you not check on that was pervy? She said this, not me. Yeah. I mean, and they were trying to make Sebastian look very, very bad in that regard, as if he had some sort of an issue, or that he was a strange, young man, and he just wasn't, SI officer says, I believe the diapers were to humiliate him, but I also wonder about the situation with the frog on a stick and the poop and the diaper situation with Sebastian and something being exposed. Yeah, in my opinion. Yeah. I remember that. And then that wasn't that like his cousin, like Chris's cousin or something, SI officer. Yeah, Snacks is creepy as hell. Remember how she said that? It was like nails on a chalkboard, just like her voice. Snacks. Yeah, Snacks. Snacks because of Snacks and Snacks. Yeah. Weird. She's very strange, that Katie, and the changing of, you know, the way that she speaks. It is very strange. Sasha says they both their voices, we can't stand them because we know they're full of BS. So true. And in my opinion, she's all over the freaking place when she's yapping because she's making crap up and she's nervous. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think she's just going along, and it's tough because you know, you can't get a read on her, and I think she's doing it on purpose. I really do. And she's mirroring whoever she's talking to, and that's a manipulation tactic. Sasha says, annoying that voice, all fake voices, the baby voice, the southern voice, the ghetto voice, the regular voice, the proper voice, the fake sobbing voice, and the passed out. Too many people, yeah, in one. I agree. I know, far too many people in one. You know, I was saying that today about some of these YouTube channels, you know, that have, you know, one personality here, the other personality here. I'm like, I don't know how they keep up, and they don't, because they've caught themselves up. But yeah, I don't know. And that's with Katie too. She just, you know, she must have some sort of, you know, DID involved here, you know, with multiple personalities. You know, it just seems that way. Yeah, exactly, Little Miss Sharon. That is something that I have always valued and I always appreciated about all of the autistic parents. Little Miss Sharon says, us autistic parents see right through foots and socks. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because there's just things that aren't right. You know, parents have autistic children. It does. It breaks my heart to hear him say that too, SI officer, you know? Me too. Really well said. Seclusion Work says KP had no idea or didn't want to know the specialness of Sebastian. I agree with that. Yeah. She squandered a gift. She certainly did. Oh, that's great that you have a great sheriff in your county, Anne. See, and that just makes you guys feel so much better then. You know? When's your birthday, Sasha? Happy late birthday if I missed it. Hey, Cece, good to see you. I remember Seth at the vigil begging for good energy. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and he's always been super straightforward, you know? Hey, Rogue, good to see you. Oh, cool, Rogue. Yeah, I know. And I got your email too. I was glad to hear from you. Have you seen the video where they put the infrared on the light video and you can see people in the neighbor's crawl space shed? No, I haven't seen that one yet, Sasha. Oh no, Rogue. I'm sorry to hear that. Gosh, the passwords are the worst because you want them to be really good, but then you're like, oh, I gotta remember all of this stuff. Oh my gosh. Ugh, what a pain. But yeah, all of these things connected, right, are just I mean, to all of us on the outside looking in, they just kind of add up, right? We're like, why is no one else seeing this? And I think that's been part of the problem in the Sebastian Rogers case. But before we go, after each other or each other's ideas and things like that, I think we need to focus on the people who could be responsible, which is obviously Chris and Katie Proudfoot, who it was their home that Sebastian went missing from. They're the ones that seemingly put out misinformation from the start and who have continuously brought a circus to this case, in my opinion, and it's just, it's really too bad. It really is too bad. Aw, Sasha, that's so sweet. That is so sweet. Well, guys, I hate to get off here, but I've been on for almost, I guess we're going on 3 hours. But there's a few things that I wanted to work on. And like I said, I have to get some memory cleared out so I can download the Texas Roadhouse footage, because I really want to go over that with you all and just kind of see what you all think once we can look at the layout together. And I like Upchurch, Sasha. And once we can look at that layout together, we can kind of figure out what we think and what we can surmise from the videos, right? And from what is kind of happening at the Texas Roadhouse. I will say, oh, it's not my birthday. It's not my birthday, Rogue. My birthday's in December. So, yeah, I've never seen the infrared crawl space before, ever. That's interesting. If you guys haven't, send it to me, Aw, thank you, little Miss Sharon. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I really want to do that. Oh, really? That's fun. I would like to go see Upchurch. That would be fun. Rogue says, thank you for understanding Lady Freedom and moderators. Of course. We love you, Rogue. Yeah, I never get mad at you guys if you're not here. I understand. I know there's a lot going on and a lot to watch on these streets. Lots of research and all of that. Rogue, don't give me a birthday too early yet. I'm not ready to be a year older just yet. But I'm interested to see, yeah, if you guys have that infrared. I have not looked at that. That wasn't even on my radar, so that's interesting. But I would love to go over it, with you guys. But I do, and like I said, had I realized that I didn't have enough storage, I would have been kicking stuff out and everything. But I was like, oh gosh, here we go. That's always a struggle. But yeah, I do want to get a good idea. And I even thought about taking some stills and going over those tonight. But I really want you all to see, like, there is no way that anybody could have gotten around the fencing that is surrounding this mall area or plaza or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we'll look at it and see. And I'll kind of show you. And then also they take different views of the parking lot as well to get a better idea of the lay of the land, if you will. So, oh my gosh, that's a ton of videos. Rogue says 5,000 videos. I know. Well, and if I upload them to YouTube, I can always go grab them back again. So it's like, I'll just delete them onto my phone and then I'll just go grab them if I need them. But boy, I didn't realize that live was, thank you, Ann Reynolds. You're the best. I didn't realize that it was 4-hour live. When I was talking about it last night, I thought it was only a couple hours. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more time on that one. But, oh, okay. Just popped into my feed by, I forgot to subscribe at the time. I was so flabbergasted. Can we try to find out now, Lady Freedom? Oh, what is it? What popped up in your feed? The, on the infrared? No, I didn't have a birthday, Town Chat. I promise. I'm not even lying to you guys. You're like, yeah, sure you didn't, old lady. No, I didn't. I didn't have a birthday. Mine's not till December. So, yeah. The first live that I did was on my birthday last year. So, oh, it's Smiley's birthday? Oh, I didn't know it was Smiley's birthday. Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday to anybody whose birthday it is. I know Hey Jude had a birthday, and I made her a birthday video. And she let me know she liked it and all that good jazz. And I appreciate all of you giving all those lovely birthday wishes and love to our Hey Jude. We absolutely adore her here. She's not able to come into my lives a lot because I'm always on late, so I'll be working on that too, though, because we might start doing like a daytime show and then an evening show. I just got to kind of get things together in that regard, because I would really like to start getting some streams going where we can review different things where I don't have to upload the video. I can pause it and talk. So I'm working on a lot of stuff. Yes, Rogue. Yes, that's who it was. Okay, good. Yeah, that was our Hey Jude. Yeah. So, but a lot of good stuff coming, guys. And then of course we're just gonna keep on updating on all of the Town Chat, on all of the developments going on, right? And definitely feel free to let me know if there's anyone that you want me to cover, or if there's a specific topic that you would like to hear more about. I could research it and we could go from there. So, but I hope you all stay safe on the YouTube streets. It's like really scary and creepy out there. I'm just going to say that. Don't give your phone number to anybody is probably a good piece of advice to end tonight's live with. And, stay safe out there, guys. Please don't partake in the grossness. Again, I don't know what else to say, but it's really rough out there. All right, my loves, you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all tomorrow.